Another day of the Sixers 2023 offseason and another conflicting James Harden report. We'll talk about what it means. Also, did Zach LaVine send a hidden message? We'll break down all of it here on Philly Take with RB.
Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome into the show. Like always, hit the like button if you enjoy the content. Be sure to subscribe, and as always, ring that bell down below. That way you don't miss any of the coverage. Today we're back, and you guessed it, another James Harden report. It feels like the Sixers are tied down in this situation, and they're waiting to see how this whole thing gets resolved. But what do you think is going to happen? What is the best case scenario for this Sixers team? And is it possible that Zach LaVine could eventually become available? We'll hear what he had to say to the Chicago media today surrounding the trade talks. But give me your prediction down below in the comment section. What do you think is going to transpire in the next few months for the Sixers? And before we jump right into it, shout out to our sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp, the world's largest therapy service. I'm sure anybody out there listening right now has either gone through or knows somebody who has gone through a mental health experience. I definitely have gone through some tough times where I just needed to reach out to somebody, or I wasn't feeling well, right? And it's always good to go to therapy just to, get some things off your chest, right? Feel more comfortable in a safer spot. But I never knew about such an easily accessible outlet like BetterHelp. In just a few clicks, their mission is to make therapy more affordable, and it makes finding a therapist much easier because it's online and remote. All you have to do is answer a few questions about your therapy needs, and BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in just a few days. Then you can talk to your therapist via text, call, video chat, phone chat, message at any single time. And if your therapist is not the right fit for any reason, you can also switch to a new therapist without having to stress about insurance. So if you are struggling or you know somebody out there who needs help, consider online therapy with BetterHelp and get 10% off of your first month by clicking the link down in the description, or just go to betterhelp.com/PhillyTake. All right, man, let's jump into it. So, the newest fresh, hot rumor off the grill. This coming out today per Zach Lowe, NBA reporter, writer, insider. He says, quote, "If you talk to people around him," talking about James Harden, "he's not backing down. He wants out of Philadelphia." What did I say, man? Standoff incoming. Standoff incoming. Daryl Morey, James Harden. Who's going to fold? Who's going to budge first? Now, let's take it back to the report that came out yesterday. This was per Sam Amick, and he said that Harden still wanted out of Philadelphia. So we're seeing the recurring theme a little bit here that, he wants out. He wants out. And we all know, we've seen with history, when James Harden is unhappy, when he wants out, he wants out. And Sam Amick said that Harden still wants out of Philly and is determined to end up with the Clippers. Quote, "Harden's stance has not changed," a source close to him told The Athletic. "He still wants to leave Philadelphia. He's still upset with how Morey handled his situation heading into possible free agency last month. And even with the recent revelation that Harden attended the same party as Sixers co-star Embiid and former Sixers owner Michael Rubin in Vegas, he's still determined to start next season in a Clippers jersey." We saw them at the Hamptons, etc. As I said, I don't think this is going to end too well. And, it's where it's come to at this point. The fact that Harden is still, I guess, frustrated about how the Sixers handled the free agency is bizarre. It's beyond me. So James Harden is upset because he took a pay cut last year. And now the Sixers, who have not gotten past the second round still, are supposed to just grant him a max contract and just, kind of hinder their roster going forward. It makes zero sense. We appreciate James for what he's done, for what he did, taking that pay cut. Sixers tampered to get Tucker and Daniel House, but at the end of the day, it's a business. And even your boy, Daryl Morey, understands that and has to put his foot down. And that's where we're at. So I think it's a bad situation on both sides for both parties. But I'm going to talk about who I think has more leverage. We need to dispel a couple things, though, very quickly. Theory number one, because for some reason I'm getting this a lot. James Harden opted into his player option to, quote, "help the Sixers out." That could not be further from the truth. Now, again, we still don't have the exact reporting on why James Harden opted in or what happened behind the scenes with Harden's camp and Daryl Morey and the Sixers, but it's quite obvious based on the reporting, right? James Harden opted in to his player option because he wanted the guaranteed $35.6 million. And no other team was going to pay him in free agency and give him the deal that he wanted. There was no value for that deal, right? If the Houston Rockets, who had $60 million in cap space, came along and said, James, we are going to pay you a 4-year max. Guess what? Bye-bye. He is out of here. He's on a jet tomorrow. No other teams, no other situations came along where James Harden was going to make the money he wanted. So he opted in, not to help the Sixers, to get his money. Because he's not signing a deal in free agency. I don't understand where this whole revelation is coming from. It's crazy to me. And, people are again now using that, trying to say that the Sixers should reward him for, again, helping them. No, it's not about the other team. It's not about this or that. He doesn't get to control where he wants to go now because he opted in. He just wanted to get his money guaranteed for this year. The Sixers are not willing to pay him long term. Other teams are not willing to pay him. And that brings me to number 2. People keep saying, oh, well, LA is going to be this and that. They're going to be lethal. Philadelphia, as I mentioned, is the best place for James Harden to try to get that next contract. It makes so much sense to stay here where you have built that chemistry up, running one of the most dynamic, lethal pick and rolls in the NBA with Joel Embiid. Now you have a new coach. You were partially the reason, in getting the old coach fired. And this situation makes a lot more sense. But to think that he's going to go to LA seamlessly, by the way, if he goes to LA, they can't pay him right away. He has to earn that next contract. And based off where the Clippers are at, I wouldn't, even be surprised if the Clippers fail this year. They might blow it up. People think he wants to go play next to Kawhi and PG. I'm starting to think he just wants to be home in LA and that's it. Because how many games have PG and Kawhi played together, right? Are they going to form a big 3? Yeah, the Clippers definitely need a point guard, but James Harden wanted more of a role. He wanted more of a significant offensive role in Philadelphia that Doc Rivers didn't really want to grant him. So he's going to essentially play a similar role in LA. It's not going to be any different. He's not going to turn into 8 step backs a game, 35 points a game, James Harden, like the old days. It's not happening. He could still be a great player for sure, but he's not that guy that he used to be. So to me, Philadelphia still makes a lot more sense. And Kawhi and PG, what have they done? What have they done together in the playoffs? Nothing. They continue to get hurt. So as much as they talk about Embiid, what about the Clippers? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me from just a basketball standpoint, right? To put those 3 together, because who knows if they're going to be able to stay on the floor and mesh with each other's playing styles. Like PG and Kawhi still need the ball as well. So I just don't understand the whole thing. If the Sixers had got to the conference finals, if they got to the finals, I would say, okay, pay him. Unfortunately, the Sixers still have this obstacle. They can't get past it. And giving you a contract for 4 years is going to hinder this team. And who do I think can crack first? Well, I think it's going to be a long standoff at this point. But I do think the Sixers have a tad more leverage because James Harden is trying to get that next contract. If he doesn't suit up, there's no chance at all. Meanwhile, the Sixers can end up clearing James Harden and Tobias off of their books and hopefully upwards of 70, 80 million in cap space next year. So even if this ends up being a sucky gap year, at least you can build around Maxey and Bede. You can get some of these expiring vets off some of these 1-year deals that you're picking up and have a lot of cap space. So I don't know. I don't think Daryl Morey is going to budge. I don't think he would have ever traded Ben Simmons if the Nets hadn't lost 8 in a row and it was perfect timing to bring his buddy James Harden in. And now we're here at this point. I think Morey's willing to wait this thing out. So we'll see how it goes and we'll see if it cools off. The other thing, though, is if Daryl Morey does decide to trade James Harden, I think it has to be for a star. I think it absolutely has to be for a star just based off of Daryl's mindset. That's what his mindset has always been. And speaking of Zach LaVine, another report coming out from NBC of Chicago, this one from Ryan Taylor, who put an article out with quotes from Zach LaVine, right? We looked at the one from Casey Johnson, which had talked about, LaVine being involved in trade talks with the Sixers and Blazers. But now here's an article from Ryan Taylor, and he says, LaVine's not buying into the rumors. Quote, "It is always rumors," LaVine told NBC Sports Bay Area. The Knicks reportedly had their eyes on LaVine, and he was in discussions with the Sixers and Blazers. And he says that the front office is trying to keep their options open. How does LaVine feel, though? Quote, "I've been with the Bulls for 7 years. I've had my name in trade talks. You don't love it, but you understand the business. I've been traded before, so you understand it. Then he talks about the trade, and here's the other quote. I always rep my city, whichever team I'm playing for, to the best. And Chicago's loved me and called me one of their own since I've been there. I don't see anything happening anytime soon. But if it does, Chicago always has my love. If it does, Chicago always has my love. So, you know, in situations like this, I respect Zach LaVine here for being, you know, professional about it. But usually a guy will say, like, no, I'm here. Or the front office will come out and say, no, like, he's off the table, right? He's not being discussed in talks. Haven't heard that from Chicago. And it's like Zach saying, like, you know, I don't want it to happen, but if it does, like, kind of leaving out there on the table that there could be a possibility, you know, I appreciate Chicago and I love them, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe there is some smoke brewing here. I'm not saying a LaVine trade is going to happen. I think it's far-fetched. And honestly, right now, I don't think there are many moves, especially that the Sixers could make to get better. Like, probably right now, bringing James Harden back makes the team the best this year right now. But looking forward into the future, you can't give Harden a 3 or 4 year contract. You want to build going forward, have cap space, draft picks, etc. And, you know, I just don't think that would be the smartest move. But if you could pull off a Zach LaVine, as I've said all offseason, I would definitely entertain it. It's up in the hands of the Chicago Bulls, and we'll have to wait and see, you know, how that plays out. But did Zach LaVine drop a hidden message there? Is there possibility? Does he feel like he could potentially get traded? Give me all your thoughts down below. And as always, appreciate everybody for tuning in. Those are all my thoughts. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.